Welcome to Keno Nose Time, the podcast celebrating scent detection for fun. Join us for insights into building a connection in your team, tips for competency and success in competition, and to keep up to date with recent and upcoming scent work events here in New South Wales and around Australia. Hello, Danielle.
Hey, Lesia.
Welcome, everyone, back to Keno Nose Time podcast. It's been a while. I think we say that at the start of every one.
Yep, it's always been a while because we
Yeah.
never podcast enough. But what else are we going to do on a long weekend?
Yeah, it's a great time to record. And and we've just done a trial this weekend, and we're sort of right in the middle of trialing season at the moment. And we have some events coming up too. So this Wednesday we have our 100 box challenge at Castle Hill, and there are still a few spots left in that if anyone is interested. It is on at what time are we starting? I think we've got spots in the 3 and 4 p.m. and we're going to open up another spot at 7 p.m. for people that have to go to work.
It should be a lot of fun. I love the idea of 100 boxes. We've been planning to do this for a while. And then we thought, it can be our Easter scent detectives event. And then it suddenly became Easter. So quick, we got to do the 100 boxes. I think some people are a little scared by 100 boxes, but I just think it'll be fine. If your dog can do an ORT, they can do 100 boxes, right?
Yeah, and there's a time limit, and you can run it known as well.
Yep.
You don't have to run it blind.
Yep.
There's no distractors.
Nope.
So I think that's always a plus. It's just odor that the dog's looking for. Yeah, I think it should be fun. And I think even if that's what I want people to know when they sign up is because I think a lot of people are scared of something like this. They can take a break. They can do a minute and then take a break, have a play with their dog, or and then do another minute, or there's no rules. You can
it's
run it how you
this
like.
is meant to be fun.
Yes.
It's meant to be just do something. It's not a class, it's not a trial, it's just a fun little mini challenge. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to running my dogs on it, actually.
Yeah, me too. Even though we just did level 2 containers yesterday.
Yeah, so we there was a level 2 container trial yesterday. We weren't hosting it for once. You were entered as a competitor. I was a judge. And I think because there's been quite a lot of trials recently, we thought it would be a good idea to just go over some sort of ACSW trial rules, things that for me have come up. I've judged a lot lately, and some issues keep arising at every trial. So we thought we would just do a little podcast on this topic so that we can hopefully help people out.
Yeah. I've been running my dog a fair bit in some recent trials. We're not having a whole lot of success, but I think a lot of the trials have had fairly low pass rates anyway. And some of them are me, some of them are Flair, some of them are Oda, some of them are who knows?
Man, I just feel like where you guys are at, like that level 2 is a tricky level, and perhaps trickier than a lot of teams realize. We always say it, right? Being ready for level 2 trials isn't just have you passed level 1? Right? There's so many more skills that are involved. And I think the cool thing about level 2 is that it's the chance to really solidify teamwork and communication with your dog. And sometimes that's also really challenging when you have all of the other difficulties at the level with a multiple number of hides, distractions, more complex search environments, more demanding overall. So,
yeah, it is quite a big jump from the level 1, like Nosework 1, level 1 element trials to the level 2. There's a lot, there's not much of a gap, like a bridge between those two. So even if you're training, I think, Flair and Bug are probably training more at a Nosework 3 level. But, whatever the reason on the day, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I mean, right? Because you obviously do know what's involved in level 2, and you also know your dog has the skills to pass level 2, but there's still that thing that happens in trials where
Who knows?
who know, like, yeah, right?
Sometimes.
It's like the WTF factor, and add in walker speed and walker ridiculous
Handler
movements.
challenges.
Yes. Like, so Nat, my sister, ran her walker bug yesterday, also missed. She was very close actually to getting a leg. She just missed. But she said that she finished search 2 and turned around, and the expression on the judges' and volunteers' faces was just like, what on earth is going on with your dog? Because he went nuts in that search 2. He was a little whirlwind just spinning around and around and around the search area.
Yeah,
Um,
we were super close to getting a leg. We just
yeah,
missed that one. We alerted on the box next to the box.
yeah, so close.
It was good. It was funny. It was fun though. I did have a good time running him in the containers because
Yep.
I didn't have any expectations, and I really did want to just treat it as a training run. I
Mm,
didn't want to leave him hanging out at every single one that I thought was a hide, asking him questions, nothing like that. I just wanted to run them sort of as smooth as I could.
mm,
And if we get yeses, we get yeses. If we get nos, we get nos.
yep.
And I think we achieved that. There was no sort of he wasn't frustrated at all.
Mm,
Maybe in one of the searches a little bit of frustration just because of odor movement, but the other searches, like, he ran them really well. I was really happy with how we ran them and how he searched, and yeah, I don't think there was any negatives to take away from the day. I think there
no.
was only good things for him anyway. For me, I've got lots of things to take away, but for him, as far as he thinks it was a good day.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yes. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is not only are we running our dogs and trials recently and hosting, we are both doing CO duties and also judge duties. And it came up yesterday when I was judging that a lot of people actually don't know the difference between an ACSW CO and an ACSW judge. So I thought that should be something that we discuss today.
Mm.
Because there's a big difference. So you tell me, what is the CO at an ACSW trial?
Well, the CO is the certifying official, and their role on the day is very different to the judge's role. In contrast to ANKC, where the judge's role is to put out the hides and to do all the, the whole thing, the search area, hide placement, everything. In ACSW trials, the certifying official is the only one to touch the odor all day. The judges are not allowed to touch the odor at all. If an odor falls out of a hide or whatever, if something goes wrong in the search area, the judges need to call the CO to, you know, put the search back together. So that's probably the biggest difference and the biggest thing that people may not be aware of. And the certifying official doesn't judge either. They need to be sort of on call for whatever else happens during the day. If there's any discrepancies, if someone's got a question about the rules, if there's, the host has any issues with whatever it is, the CO has to be around to deal with all of those things. So, and it's a busy day. Like, when you're wearing the CO hat, it is a really busy day. You're never sitting down relaxing. You don't get to have lunch when everyone else has lunch. You don't get to, sit down and chat with the volunteers or this, that, and the other. Like, might be running with the score, talking to score room lead. You might be doing all these other things anyway. So, but the main role really is to set out the appropriate hides, set out the appropriate challenges, and put the hides out, and to make sure that when you run the dog in white, that those hides and the search areas work. And the judges really have a bit of a different role to that.
Yeah. And I was also discussing with people that one of the reasons why the CO is the one that designs and sets all the searches for the day is that at ACSW trials, there's at least 4 searches in a day, up to 6 for a nosework 3. And you want one person to be setting out the challenges across the day so that the searches are balanced, that there is a coherent sort of search story that the dogs will be going through, and that whole, so say for a nosework 3, which is 6 searches across the day, it would be a bit confusing, I think, having different judges set different searches.
Imagine if they all accidentally set inaccessibles.
Exactly, right? So the cool thing is that when you have a CO working on all that stuff, you can be pretty sure that you've got a sort of nice balance of challenge spread out across the searches, which I think is really nice. The CO is also responsible for basically determining the judging parameters to a large degree. So I think that that's important as well.
And I think that comes with the extra education they get as well. As far as odor movement goes and how odor works within a search area, that's their responsibility.
Yep.
Hide placement, and for those, a lot of you obviously have trialed and we trial, hide placement is everything.
Yep.
Hide placement determines misses and passes. And it doesn't always go the right way, trust me. Like, I've had some really, really bad days as a CO, and I've had some really good days. And just being able to, set appropriate searches that you want the dogs to, they need to be able to see these particular things at particular level, and being able to put out hides that reflect that, I think is just, it's a really important job. And it's a really fun job, and it's really satisfying if you can get it right.
Yeah.
And if not, then you just go home, you have a glass of wine, and you go, let's try again another day.
And with the way ACSW is structured, judges, there's a different training program for judges, and each judge will be certified firstly at level 1, then level 2, level 3. And the same thing happens for COs. They have to do a whole bunch of extra training just for being CO for level 1, and then for level 2, level 3, etc. So there is a lot of learning that goes in even before you get your first CO appointment. And I think the thing with judging is, I judge, because you mentioned that being CO is like, it's a crazy day. You've got like 1,000 things in your head running around doing all the things all day long. I actually think judging is just as exhausting a lot of the time, because for me, judging requires total absorption in every single search, right? For me, when I'm judging, I'm like, it's like I'm running every single dog in that search environment. I'm watching every single dog's change of behavior. I'm anticipating what every single dog is going to do in that
And
search.
the humans.
And the humans. Yesterday, I was judging containers, and search 3 was, it was a bunch of odd-looking containers, and they were all identical. And I had to be so on the ball with knowing where the odor was, because I didn't move from the start line because of the environment. So every single time I was like eyeballing the odor, eyeballing the dog. Sometimes I kept counting in my head every single box as the dog passed it. Sometimes the dogs moved the odor box.
Oh my
and I had
gosh.
to keep track of where that odor was going. So judging is just as involving. But the thing I'm saying is that I like that the CO hat is taken off when I'm judging. So I'm not having to worry about, all the things that a CO has to worry about. I'm literally just in the moment with each team judging as the search presents itself. The thing that judges have to pay attention to, of course, is what is going on with the odor across the whole of the day, and keeping the CO informed of how each search is performing. But
I was the cold box person in that search you were just talking about.
Yep.
And so I had to keep track of the containers that I was allowed to touch and not touch. So, and I felt for you, because I'm like, I only have to pay attention. I've got to ignore box 3 and 7, which is the odor boxes, make sure I know where all the other boxes have gone, because they were getting kicked around a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel for you, because I'm like, I'm mentally counting like up to box number 6. I'm like, okay, the other one's not my problem.
Yeah. I know. It was a fun one to judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I didn't have my caffeine at lunch, so I was like dying by the end of the day. But it was still good fun.
I think judging is more mentally, you've got to be switched on like all day,
Yeah,
like
yeah. You can't
engaged.
have any lapses
No.
of concentration. You know, one of the things I want to bring up today is handlers keeping track of the search, keeping track of their hides. But as a judge, that's really hard as well. In search 4, it was a circle with 3 hides spread out around it, and more than one handler lost track of where they
So
had
many.
alerted in that search. And I had to make sure that I never lost track.
Yeah.
There were a couple of ones I'm like, I'm sure that's the one they found. I'm sure, like I just had to I had to be certain of where they covered and where they haven't. And it's hard when it's a circle.
Yep. Yeah, and especially when they go round a few times.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, but I think that that's definitely part of the skill progression as you go up from nose like level 1s to level 2s,
yep.
and remembering where you have been. And there were some people even yesterday that, you know, that were told how many hides were in a search,
Mm,
and still there was, cold finish before
yep.
they'd found the second hide,
Yep.
or didn't call alert on a box that they hadn't found because they thought they'd already found it.
I know. So I guess there's a couple of rules I want to draw people's attention to in this podcast. One is there is no fault or penalty associated with calling alert at a hide you've already found.
Mhm.
I could see people hesitant to call alert. I'm not sure why. Because I felt like they thought maybe there was a penalty for saying alert at a hide they've already found. There is no penalty for saying alert at a hide you've already found. You can say alert, you can re-reward at a hide you've already found. The difference is at level 2 in ACSW, you will be told you have found a hide that you've already found. So you'll be told you got that, you found that,
Which is why you have to keep track.
which is why I have to keep track. But once you hit level 3, that goes away. You'll simply be told yes or no. Because like you say, it's part of the skills progression, and keeping track of you and your dog in the search area, where you've covered and what hides you found, that's part of the skill set that you need to develop in the higher levels of trialing.
Mm. And it's interesting because there's been a few trials over the years where this has come up as an interesting discussion point.
Mm,
And I remember one of the trials it was a Nosework 3 trial. And it was like, as you just said, in Nosework 3, you don't get you found that one. You just get a yes or a no, because you don't know how many hides are in each search. That's the reason for that. In Nosework 2, you do know how many hides. So to help you out, they say, no, you found that one. So this Nosework 3 it was up in Queensland, and I remember running it with my dog, and we hit like a set of, what are they, where you put your school bags?
Lockers?
Lockers. Yeah. And the hide was in one of the lockers, so we thought the hide was in a locker. So we called alert on the locker. And then, got a yes, went around the search area, da 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 da, and then called alert on a bench and got a yes. And so I was like, okay, cool, 2 hides, we called finish, we went on our way, off we go for the rest of the day. We got to the end, and, after everyone had finished running, we were having this talk, and some people were like, we're like, "Oh, we found 2," and others are like, "Well, we only found 1," and we're like, "Oh, no, like, what's going on?" And it turned out that the bench was directly behind the locker, and the odor was moving both ways, and both sides of this were a yes, even though they were completely opposite sides of this row of lockers. And I was so, when you're so out of it when you're searching, it's like, I even thought they were on different locker blocks. That's how little I realized that they were the same hide.
Mm,
Now I think if I went back and did that, I would have a much better idea of how to keep track of my searches, and, I'd be more aware of where I'm at in a search.
yep,
But at the time it was just, almost
yep,
like one of those things. But that's one of the reasons, is it was a yes because of how the odor was moving, and, the dogs were almost hitting source both sides, and it was just one of those things. It was just really interesting.
yeah. And a very similar sort of scenario was actually in the interior that I judged at the Nosework 3 the other week. There was a hide underneath a table. And dogs were actually hitting different sides of this table. And, they were correct on both sides. They were correct on all sides, reaching underneath and above, underneath the tabletop. There were a couple of handlers who were confused about whether that was a different hide. And I don't necessarily think it was because the dog was hitting the same table from different sides. I actually think they lost track of where they were in the search because they had left the table, covered more ground. It was like an interior with a lot of tables in it. So I do understand losing track. And then when the dog came back to that table, but alerted at a slightly different place because the handler didn't have total situational awareness, there was a question mark in their minds of whether they had found an additional hide or not. So that was a similar thing that happened.
And that could get in your head a little bit if you thought that was
Yep.
2 or 3 hides.
Yeah.
In a search area.
It could bite you.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess at a Nosework 3 though, that's the good thing is that it really doesn't matter. Like if you get an extra yes, it shouldn't affect how you run.
Well, the thing is if people thought that it was a third hide and then they called finish.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Or say there were 3 hides and they found the same one twice before finding the third.
They would have missed
is
it.
where it would bite them.
Yeah. Well, I guess they were very lucky there were not 3 hides in that
They were lucky. Yeah, so I guess the moral of the story is keep track of your search areas.
Situational awareness.
Yeah, situational awareness. It's hard. I've totally lost track. I've literally done a Nosework 3 with 2 vehicle hides. I found them both and I walked out going, did I call the same hide twice? And the cars were totally in different areas, different vehicles, but you do get just really blinkered vision in it when you're searching. It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And nerves and all these other things play into it as well. Like it can be rough on poor old handlers.
Yeah. So don't get afraid to call alert at a hide that you're not sure if you found it or not. Definitely a level 2. You'll get information from the judge if you found it or not. So don't be afraid to call alert. But what I want to draw people's attention to is don't ask the judge questions in a trial. Like, seriously, this happens more than it should. I get people looking at me saying, did I find this? Or they'll look at me and say, I'm not sure if this is one we've gotten. I can't answer those questions as a judge for you. If you say alert, I can say yes or no, you found it. But I can't tell you what you've done in a search. I can't answer any other question while you're searching. So if I look at you funny after you've talked to me, that's why.
I've never seen so many people do that before. And because
it's
I was
happened to me a
volunteering
lot in recent trials. It's happened to me at the Nosework 2 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't ask questions as a judge. I'm not being rude. I just can't answer questions while you're searching. The other way this comes up, asking me a question, is people asking me if they can drop the leash. And this comes from ANKC, where you have to request permission from the judge, I believe, if you drop the leash in a search. There is no penalty for dropping the leash for safety purposes if it makes sense in that search for you and your dog. You don't have to, if your dog darts under a table and you're going to fall over or have to crawl under that table, you are within every right to drop the leash, move around, pick up the leash smoothly. There is no fault there, and you do not have to ask for permission.
The only reason you would get a fault in a situation like that is if the lead then went on to really interfere with the search area.
That's what it is. Like, the leash touching the ground is not a fault. The fault is if the leash interferes with the search. So if the leash starts moving around boxes, if the leash catches on a chair, starts dragging the chair, if the leash is digging up leaf litter debris or something going on in the search, you may get penalty for that.
Yeah.
But you don't need to ask me permission to drop your leash if your dog is in a situation.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
What else is there that we needed to talk about? Oh, Another thing that I think people aren't used to if they've done a lot of ANKC trialing and not as much ACSW trialing is the motto really for ACSW trials is we use real world settings. Real world settings mean that the search areas are not pristine. In our rule book, it says there may be unidentified hazards. In schools, there may be food left in desks. There may be rubbish on the ground. It is not up to the CO or the judge or anyone to clean up the search area. It is the handler's responsibility to navigate each area safely. That's on you and your team and your dog. And I think that can come as a bit of a shock if you're not used to searching places like schools where all of those things are present.
And as a safety thing, I think COs do to the best of their ability. We're not
Yes.
going to put out or leave something there that's a hazard. And I make sure I do a safety run through of all of the searches that I put out.
Yep.
But it's very easy to miss something, and you can't go through desks and chairs and cupboards and all of these things,
or every single bush in a school.
Yeah, but it's also one of the reasons why ACSW, as a and how we've followed NACSW, doesn't put out intentional distractors in non-container searches, is because of the environments that we're searching are distracting environments.
Yep.
They have a lot of extra distractors, like that you may not encounter in your regular training. And that's there's often so much distractor in the environment that we don't need to put out an intentional distractor.
No. Nope. Was there anything else that you can think of that has come up in recent trials? There is one thing I want to say, and that involves handlers rewarding. So there is some confusion because the current ACSW rules say handlers cannot reward at the start line. The way this is currently interpreted is handlers can't reward from the last on deck up until the start of the search. Once you've found a hide and a judge says yes, you actually can reward anywhere you want. Right?
Anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want. You can reward at the source. You can reward, your dog can return to you in your reward. You can be, if it's a single hide search, you can be rewarding as you exit the search area. Okay? What is important is that you're not compromising the search area. What is important that you're not contaminating and dropping food. That will always be faulted. But for clarity...
That's on you, though. That's on the handler, and you as the handler. It's also on the judge to keep an eye on that additional feeding to make sure that it's not contaminating the search area, because you can get a fault right up until you leave the area.
Yep, absolutely. So for teams that aren't used to this, I would say that you need to have a start routine that starts at the last on deck. Do you know what I mean? So you should have a way of moving your dog from that last on deck on approach to the search area, getting ready to search, cue your dog to search. To me, that is all part of my search picture. It isn't just we get to the start line, the search starts there.
And
I
just
also,
to be clear, that rule is what the current rules say.
Correct.
So that may change in the future, but at the moment, that is what the current rules say.
That's why I said currently.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring it to make sure that it was emphasized.
Yes. As soon as that rule is changed, we will let you know.
Yeah.
And obviously with rewards, it's all about contaminating the search area. So whatever you're using, if it's food or toys, it can't touch the ground. Also, I think it's important to know that if you're using a toy, it can't make squeaky sounds, noises. Some search environments, you can use a squeaky noise-making toy at the discretion of the CO, but you can only use it in a search area and not anywhere outside the search area. You can't be using that squeaky toy at on decks, in the car park, anywhere else.
That makes a lot of sense.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on alert finish without hearing confirmation from the judge after you've said alert?
I love this. I love this question. And I talk about it with my students too. I think in every situation possible, you should wait for the judge to confirm that you have found the hide. I think it's respectful to the judge. It's also, a good idea to know that you're correct or not before you reward your dog. But I think I think where that can be, where it's okay to say alert finish is when you've really got about 4 seconds left on the
Yeah.
clock.
Yeah. Like if it's in that last 5 seconds,
Yeah.
it's kind of desperate times.
The judge will understand.
Yes. But at any other time, I agree. Wait for
Yeah.
confirmation.
And I think even in a 3-hide search,
Mm.
I just think it's respectful. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
know that you wanting to save every second and, but, alert, yes, finish.
Yeah.
Half a second, it's not going to make so much difference. And if it
Yeah.
makes a difference to your first or second place, then so be it.
Yeah.
But I think it is a respect thing for your judges. That was one thing I wanted to say as well about yesterday is that progression of the word alert,
Mm.
the alert, yes, finish,
Mm-hmm.
and that what kind of penalties are associated with not saying finish in ACSW.
Oh, I knew there was something that was on my mind.
Oh, good.
Yes, this is the other big topic I wanted to talk about, which is errors at level 2
Mm.
and errors at level 3.
Mm-hmm.
So in level 2, element specialty trial, and we're not talking nose work 2 for this. The reason being is that at nose work 2, it is a do or die situation. You have to be perfect or nothing. At a level 2 element specialty trial, you can get a leg. So that means that you can have one error and still achieve a leg. And what that always means is 2 legs equal a title. So that means you can come back, get another leg, and you'll get your title. So at a level 2 element specialty trial, there are 2 types of errors. One is a false alert, and the other is a missed hide. A false alert is exactly what it sounds like. It's if the judge says no after you say alert. And a missed hide is obviously self-explanatory. Timing out is not an error in a level 2 element specialty trial. So what that means is that if you don't say finish, you can still get a title or a leg.
Mm-hmm.
That is only relevant to level 2 element specialty trials, right?
Yep.
Timing out is also not a non-qualifying fault in a nose work 2. So in a nose work 2, if you time out or forget to say finish, rather, that you can still title. If you've found all the hides, you can still title.
Yeah, and that's a progression as well. It's a nice progression from a nose work 1 where you don't have to say finish at all. There's only one hide, alert stops the clock, off you go. Nose work 2, you have to say alert and finish, but it does not it only affects your time. You just get full time if you don't say it.
Correct.
Nose work 3, it is an error if you don't say finish.
Exactly right. So back to what an error means. An error means you get one error to equal a leg. So in a level 2 element specialty trial, like yesterday, level 2 containers, if you got a false alert, so say you alerted in the wrong box, I said no, what you should then do is keep searching.
Yeah.
Until you find something. Because as long as you don't miss a hide, that false alert is just one error.
And I saw a few people who didn't quite know what to do after they got a no yesterday.
Well, this is also where people ask me questions. And unfortunately, I cannot help you out in the middle of a search, right? There was one person in particular who had no clue they could keep searching after a no. But because we were all standing around awkwardly saying absolutely nothing, they did just kind of keep going. But
God love them.
if you get a no, keep going. In level 2 element specialty trial, on your second no, you are out. So you only get one no to keep searching. After your second no, that's the end of the search.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really important one. Like, and legs are valuable at that level where there's, I don't know how many hides were out over the course of the day. I think there was 8 or 9.
Yep.
missing one hide, that's still a good day. That's still a successful day.
Can I use Flair's search for as an example?
I don't think we're allowed to swear on this podcast, though.
I'll use
Actually, yes, we can.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we can say it like 3 times or something. Okay, so Flair's search for is an excellent example of something that constituted 2 errors. So if that on its own would have just meant no leg. So what Lesia did in search for was she caught alert at an adjacent box as Flair was still working. so she caught alert. Flair totally ignored alert. I said no. Flair then within half a second hits the odor box. Lesia says shit and then finish.
I basically said shit instead of alert.
Yes. So that constituted 2 errors because it was basically on the paperwork a false alert and a mishide because she didn't say alert at the correct hide. Now, if she wanted to sort of submit some sort of query, she could have maybe said that her SHIT was an alternative alert as a joke, which I think would have been rejected.
I feel like I gave everyone a good giggle for the day anyway, so you're all welcome.
Yeah, it was funny. But yeah, so just make sure, and I think that's what I really want to stress. When you get that first no, and this is an important skill for Nosework 3 and Elite and beyond, getting that first no should be part of your routine. Just smoothly keep searching and take it from there. A lot of people I saw that the first no actually really threw them.
Yeah.
And you can see they get rattled. You can see their searching demeanor changes and they get a bit stressy. And it's like the dog's like, what's going on here? And so it is, again, part of that skills progression heading towards the higher levels, searching on past that first no.
I also think it's something it's good to practice. I know that sounds funny, but taking off our CO and judges hats for a little while, as a training, it is good to practice that in training, getting that no and automatically moving on and keeping on going, because it's something that you need to become sort of muscle memory, because you will get it at some point.
Yep.
No dogs are machines. Our dogs are all very flesh and blood, and sometimes things happen.
Yep.
But it is good to practice just so that it's automatic. You just keep going. There's no weirdness between you and your dog. You can re-cue them and, off you go.
Yep. And again, just don't ask the judge for what to do in the situation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good good question. I think the only other thing I was going to say, and obviously this is probably not as relevant for containers, but perhaps for some of the other searches, is when you get asked where. And as a CO, or a judge, that is, you don't want to set up searches where the judges have to ask where, and the judges don't want to be asking you where. But sometimes it happens, and it happens for a variety of reasons. Everywhere from the majority of the time, it will be because the judge just didn't see where your dog last indicated, and that could be because the handler's in the way. It's because they were watching where they were stepping to the right, or whatever the case may be. There may be a reason that the judge has missed watching where your dog hit last. That's the main reason you'll get aware. The judge really just wants to know that you understand where your dog has alerted. So I guess my point there is, don't overthink it when you get aware. Say what you honestly think where your dog has alerted.
This is such a good point, because this came up in another trial I was judging, and I think people think that the where means that their dog wasn't quite correct. Like that's automatically what they think, and
that is not the case.
Unfortunately, in some ANKC trials, I have seen that sort of scenario where the where is kind of a chance for the handler to kind of get it a bit more correct.
Well, that's my main point, is a where is not an opportunity for you to guess where the hide is.
And it is not an opportunity for you to second guess what your dog just did.
Yeah.
If a judge says where, you should automatically be ready to indicate exactly where your dog's nose just was, where you 100% believe where the hide is. It is not any chance for you to go, oh, is it somewhere where I didn't think? it's nothing. Just go exactly where your dog was. I have asked where once, I think in the last couple of trials I've judged, and it was exactly that first scenario that you mentioned. The handler just body blocked my vision as the dog was there, and I had to say where just for clarity of what the dog actually did, because I missed it visually. Now, the handler was flummoxed. The handler was like, "Oh no, why were you why were you saying this?" And it was like such a simple object for the dog to indicate on. All she had to say was on that object. That's it. She
Yep.
didn't need to point to any 15 centimeter, little section of the object. It was just tell me where your dog alerted. So that's the other thing that I think is good for people to mentally practice is what it feels like for a judge to say where, and for you to just, again, it's like just roll with it. Don't stress, don't second guess it, just indicate where your dog was. And don't touch anything, because I've also seen that in a trial. A person actually reached down and touched where they thought the hide was. And again, that can be a fault. You're not allowed to touch anything in a search area. Pointing is fine, touching is not.
Oh, I just thought of another one. I don't do a lot of judging, but I do find this one interesting, is handlers looking where the hide is.
Oh, okay. So
Is this
this
she's got
was
this
another.
podcast into too.
Yeah, I just remembered how many things have popped into my brain as I've been judging recently. So handlers should not be visually looking for hides. Okay, that means that you shouldn't be looking under objects, investigating things to a degree where it can be construed that you're looking for the hide. Where handlers run into problems with this is when their dogs move underneath objects and they can no longer see their dog's nose comfortably. I'm going to beg you, don't bend down and look for your dog's nose under a table. Don't do it. As a judge, I don't know whether or not you're looking for where the hide is. So it's really easy for me to say, well, I'm going to have to penalize you for that, because why are you bending down, sticking your head under an object? And I know that we are ingrained to be watching our dog's nose for where it is. That gives us confidence of where the hide is. But I would also ask you whether, if your dog has disappeared under an object, I want to ask you whether there can be any doubt as to where the hide could possibly be. I would also ask, are there other clear indications from your dog that they have hit odor that don't involve you watching their nose? Because this situation happened at the Nosework 3 trial I judged recently, and there was a hide sort of deep underneath the table. All the handlers had to do was call alert when the dog was under the table, right? Like, they don't need to be, again, within any set, like they didn't have that particular corner within a particular distance. It was really clear where the dogs were heading towards was where the odor was. And it wasn't just where the dog's nose was. Like, I was watching every single dog that ran it. You could see from their stance. You could see from the way their tails moved. You could see from the orientation of the whole of their body. You could also hear their breathing as they hit the hide and then pulled out away from it. There were so many other things that told handlers when and where the dog was indicating. So please save judges the stress of having to watch you look under tables. It stresses me out.
Yeah.
I don't want to penalize people for doing that. So don't do it. Just trust that your dog can be able to communicate to you where that hide is without you doing that.
I also think, and this is just, I guess, how I prefer to handle my dogs, is if they're going under an object, I prefer to stand back further rather than get in closer.
Yep.
Because then you can see their body language a little bit better, and that's just from a handler point of view, I think.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Move
don't
back,
get in
not
closer,
forward.
step back and look at all the other parts of your dog's body language.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure we've missed some.
Yeah, probably.
But I think some of those are really important, especially for newer people that are newer to trialing with ACSW in New South Wales. Some of the things we've just noticed.
And, I want to encourage anyone who has actually listened all the way through to this. Like, if you've got questions or comments or queries or concerns or anything, or a question that we have not answered, let us know.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Comment, email us. Most of the people that listen to us are probably in our Canine Nose Time community Facebook group. So we post a link to our podcast for our students into that group, and you're welcome to comment or let us know what you think, or if you've got any other weird questions or weird things that have happened to you in trials.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so much weird stuff happens in trials. Like, I thought that was pretty funny yesterday. Mine was the only video you had to video review.
I did. I video reviewed Lesia's because I was sure that she said alert, shit, finish without
Yeah.
saying that second alert. But a couple of the other people present were like, I think she maybe said a second alert in there somewhere. And I'm like, no. All I
I don't
heard
think I did.
was the swear word.
Yeah. Oh, man, I laughed. Okay. I've got it on video. I'm going to publicly humiliate myself by posting
uh,
that.
the cool thing is with both Bug and Flare, right? When you do those adjacent box, close proximity alerts, same with Bugs, same, like, it's just
Every time.
they don't care. They actually don't even listen to you when you say alert at the wrong time. They're still solving the problem and driving to Oda. It's pure handler mistake.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, that one was on me. Fun times.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's call this and we will chat again soon.
Yep.